What is the most embarrassing thing you've ever witnessed? I used to work in nightclubs. I once witnessed a girl leaning against a wall, casually flirting with a guy, and as she laughed she actually shit herself. She was wearing a white dress and there was no hiding what had happened. The smell actually cleared the whole level of the club. She ran out crying. We had to clean poo off the floor where she had been standing. I often wonder what she is doing now. She had to be pretty excited about something. Never trust a fart. We were doing a math final in junior year of high school. They made a huge deal of saying everyone should use the restroom etc. Saying you'd fail if you got out of your seat before your test was done. About halfway through the exam, a girl 2 seats ahead and 1 to the left starts peeing relentlessly. She didn't stop taking the exam. Look at anyone or try and leave. She released easily 20 ounces of fluid. Urine was spilling out of the chair like a faucet for probably 15-20 seconds. Everyone's looking at her. The teacher visibly mouths, "What the fuck?" No one knows what to do. This poor girl just finished her exam, probably another 20 minutes worth, and left. Similar thing happened to me, but I was like in 2nd grade. Went to an assembly and I asked to go before, but the teacher said to wait until after. 1 hour assembly finally finishes and I'm about to burst. Ask again and she says to wait until we get back to the classroom. Get to the classroom and she says we have a math test. I ask before we start. She said I need to finish the test first. I start the test and the only thing on my mind is to tank it, finish it and go. But I was too proud to fail a math test, so I decided to pee my pants. 10 minutes later I finished and gave her the test. Pants full of piss, and that's when she noticed and yelled, "Oh my god," so the entire class could see me. Sucked at the time, but now it's just a funny story to me. That teacher was simply awful. Alright, so my husband and I were driving around the city and it was pouring outside. Absolutely pouring. We were about to pass the light rail train tracks, going in both directions, when the crossing gates came down because the light rail was approaching. One idiot in a van decided he could make it across before the gates came all the way down. He kept on driving, but he did not make it. Instead, his vehicle was now trapped between the gates. We could see from our car that this person was panicking. His life was flashing before his eyes. In his movie mind, the light rail was about to crash into the van and drag it for dozens of yards before finally stopping. So he did what anyone would do. He violently pushed the door open and ran in the pouring rain for his life. He was halfway down the street before he stopped, turned around, and noticed that the light rail was patiently waiting for him to move the vehicle. The door was still open. My husband and I just about pissed ourselves laughing. I don't know how light rails work, but I would have pieced the fuck out too. I was a sophomore in HS, so around 16, taking the last leg of my Countess sex ed class. It was a co-ed day, so our full gym class of about 30 kids was in the room. Topic was STDs. The teacher mentioned oral sex a few times and I guess which diseases can be spread through it. One guy who was always pretty quiet and shy raised his hand and said, "I just don't really understand how you can get an STD from talking about sex." It took everyone, including the teacher, a few seconds to understand, but some quiet laughter came from a few students. The teacher then of course had to explain as simply as she could that oral sex did not in fact mean talking about sex. I think the stupid bylaws of the program in our county didn't allow her to fully disclose what it was. Anyway, we thought he was joking, but as he heard the laughter from everyone after getting this explained to him, he slowly put his head down and covered his face for the next few minutes. Poor guy, I felt bad, but it was hard not to laugh. At least no one directly gave him shit for it afterward. Well, this is exactly why we need sex ed. I was watching a symphony orchestra concert at the Sydney Opera House one evening. The concert hall foyer has these huge glass windows beneath the sails that overlook the harbour side. The sun hadn't quite set yet, and every audience member that was exiting the hall could see this incredibly drunk middle-aged couple having sex on a bench outside the hall. I wonder if they planned that spot on purpose to make a scene? Guess we'll never know. I'm sure Aussies just sex wherever the fuck they feel like it. Australians don't sex. Australians mate. Someone told me that you shouldn't cringe at your cringe moments from the past because no one but you will remember them. This thread is a reminder that is not true. I was on a high-end cruise line at dinner. An older lady got up to go to the bathroom but missed and pooped herself in the dining room entrance. She left her panties there and continued onto the bathroom. But missed is a hilariously wholesome way to say she shit herself. There was this kid in my high school that was taking karate classes. He decided he wanted to fight a kid that was bullying him after school in the town park. A shit ton of people went. He got all pumped up before the fight. Instantly, once the fight started, he began doing karate moves at the air. Once he reached the bully, the first thing he decided to do was a very flashy spinning backhand. He missed by a mile and was knocked out immediately. I felt really bad for him. He was always known for not being able to read situations very well, and that, being his first normal fight, was just the absolute worst time to try that move out. Bullies suck. It was embarrassing for both of them. A friend who did MMA once told me that karate isn't actually about fighting. It teaches self-discipline, but is a poor choice for self-defense compared to other martial arts. So it was right after I graduated HS. I was at what would become the party where everyone would learn their limits. So we are all hammered, and this girl that my buddy likes sits next to him on the couch and lays her head on his chest. It was almost cute for a moment, but then a few seconds later her mouth opens and unleashes the first of about 20 torrents of vomit that would be spewed that night. Not all the same person. This party was a catastrophe. My friend looked like he had died inside. I was at a food court and I got the brilliant idea to jump over a row of those plastic chairs and tables. You know, the ones that are fixed to the floor. Foot got caught and I fell flat on my face. I stood up to 30 people clapping. One guy yelled asking for my autograph. That is fucking hilarious. In hindsight, yes, at the time, not so much. Friend of mine who learned how to do a burnout from just YouTube videos decided to do a burnout. He thought the smoke was the tires spinning on the spot. It was actually the clutch being burned out. We tried telling him, but he thought we were egging him on until someone ran up to the diva side and switched the car off at the ignition. Now this wouldn't have been too bad if he did this on a driveway or a side road to 3 or 4 people. But he entered himself into a amateur burnout contest and all this happened in front of about 200 people. Oh my, I don't know much about cars, but I know how serious car people are, so that was probably pretty embarrassing. Saw my grandfather's girlfriend digging in her ass. I'm assuming she had an itch. I'm not really judgy, so I didn't think anything of it, till she didn't wash her hands. Then she went to the fridge, got out a jar of my pickles, the ones she claims to hate so much, and used her dirty booty hand to get a few. I was terrified. How many times had she done that? And with how many other food items? Exclamation point. I had a pretty old professor for immigration law, and one night in class she let out a very loud fart. The class went silent and she made a comment about how that what aging gracefully was like. Everyone tried not to laugh because she was old and sweet, but she continued to let out loud long farts for the remainder of the 4-hour night class. I was mortified for her. She made a comment about how that what aging gracefully was like. Based on this, I don't think she would have minded if you laughed. When I worked at a deli, my boss grabbed a woman's stomach and congratulated her. She wasn't pregnant. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more Reddit videos.